Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're putting on our detective hats to decode some of the absolute most frustrating rules and hidden glitches in the English language. Whether you're a beginner prepping for competitive exams or specifically studying the DPE 801 syllabus, you already know just how tricky English vocabulary and proper word usage can be. Well, today we are going to master it all.
Okay, here is the roadmap for our investigation today. We're covering the confusable word trap, homographs, homophones, and homonyms, the secret stress shift, tricky plurals and articles, and finally, the classic good versus well. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the confusable word trap, unlocking the code. You know, English is absolutely notorious for setting up incredibly strict grammar rules and then, well, immediately breaking them. It's wild. But to truly master proper word usage and actually ace those error detection questions on your exams, we have to look at these anomalies not as frustrating mistakes, but as a highly complex code just waiting to be cracked. Once you see the underlying logic here, you're literally never going to unsee it. Moving on to Section 2, homographs, homophones, and homonyms, the trio of confusion. Let's start with a classic trio of conceptual confusion that is virtually guaranteed to show up in competitive exams. First, notice how homographs share the exact same spelling, but their meaning, and quite often their pronunciation, shift completely. Take the word spelled R-O-W. It can be pronounced row, like a row of seats, or it can be pronounced row, meaning a really loud argument. It's the exact same spelling, but totally different identities.
Next up, we have homophones. The root phone actually means sound, so these words sound identical to the ear, but their spellings and definitions are completely distinct. Think of bear with an A-R-E, meaning uncovered, versus bear with an E-A-R, the large animal in the woods. If you're just listening to someone speak, you have to rely entirely on context to know which one they mean.
And finally, we have homonyms. These guys are basically linguistic double agents. They share both their sound and their exact spelling, yet they're totally unrelated in meaning. For instance, you can sit on a riverbank, or you can deposit money in a financial bank. You can smell a beautiful rose, or you can say that the sun rose this morning. It's the exact same word form doing two completely different jobs. All right, Section 3, the secret stress shift, also known as superfixes. This brings us to a really fascinating phonetic trick. Sometimes, simply shifting the stress of your voice changes a word's entire grammatical function, typically shifting it right from a noun to a verb. Listen closely to the emphasis here. When we use the word as a verb, we stress the second syllable. You might convert your currency. But if we use it as a noun, the stress jumps back to the first syllable. A church welcomes a new convert. We actually see the exact same rule playing out here. If you're capturing audio, you record a meeting on your phone. Stress on the second syllable. But if you're talking about the physical vinyl object, you listen to a record. Stress on the first syllable. It's a brilliant, highly subtle mechanism of spoken English that catches a lot of people off guard. And sometimes it's not just the stress, but the actual pronunciation of the consonant itself that shifts completely. Take the word U-S-E. When it's a verb, it takes on this Z sound. We plan to use this tool. But as a noun, it takes a hard S sound. There is only one use for this. Pretty wild, right? Moving right along to Section 4, tricky plurals and articles, breaking the rules. So, let's see how these grammatical anomalies build into some major spelling traps. Ever wondered how to correctly pluralize compound nouns? The secret is you usually add the S to the main defining word of the phrase. So you're pluralizing the mothers, not the law. It becomes mothers-in-law, not mother-in-laws. This is a hugely frequent error for test takers, so definitely lock this rule into your memory. Crucially, some nouns have totally different meanings depending on which plural form you decide to use. For example, if you have multiple male siblings, they're your brothers, but members of a society, they're brethren. If you're counting individual copper coins on a table, you have pennies. But if you're talking about the total financial value in British currency, it's pence. Choosing the wrong plural can completely change the meaning of your sentence. Okay, here's another massive trap, deciding between the indefinite articles a and an. Most of us were taught back in primary school to use an before a vowel and a before a consonant. But here's the catch. The real rule depends entirely on phonetic sounds, not the spelling printed on the page. And this brilliantly illustrates that phonetic logic in action. You say an hour because the H is completely silent, which leaves us with an ow vowel sound. Conversely, you say a university and a European because even though they start with vowels on the page, they're actually pronounced with a hard consonant U sound. You even say a once-in-a-lifetime chance because once starts with a W sound. The takeaway here? Always trust your ears over your eyes when it comes to articles.
And that brings us to Section 5, Mastering Good versus Well, the ultimate stumbling block.
For our final section, we are tackling one of the absolute most persistent errors made by language learners and native speakers alike. Before I give you the answer, ask yourself, which of these phrases actually sounds correct to your ear? Is she a good driver, or does she drive well? Or, wait, could both be right? Okay, here is the definitive rule. Good is an attributive adjective, meaning its one and only job is to directly describe a noun. So he is a good driver. Well, on the other hand, is an adverb used to describe a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. Therefore, a person cannot write good or drive good. Because writing and driving are actions, she writes well and she drives well. But hey, it's English, so of course it throws in an exception just to keep us on our toes. We actually do use well as an adjective in one very specific context, after linking verbs to describe someone's health. So saying Jenny looks well is grammatically perfect, because here, well doesn't mean she is performing the action of looking in a skillful manner. It simply means Jenny herself is healthy and not ill. So now that you've investigated the phonetic tricks, the stress shifts, the complex plurals, and all those confusable words, will you be able to spot these grammatical illusions the next time you hear them? The language is no longer just a list of frustrating rules. It's a code, and you now hold the cipher. Keep listening, keep analyzing, and definitely keep cracking that code.